Hello everyone, it's 9:45. I'm TK and this is Coach on the Rocks. Lovely to see you all and thank you for tuning in. Let me know that you're here. Say hello or bonjour if you're from a French-speaking country or like the language. Yeah, Thursday. It's like the day that a lot is usually happens on this day during the week. And for many people, it's a day full of meetings. And actually, I've read an interesting article by Derek Thompson in The Atlantic about meetings and how, they have completely obliterated our days as knowledge workers. Now, I've talked about it a bit before, but I've got some new tips. And what Derek has been writing about is there's a study by Microsoft. And, they know their stuff when it comes to like meetings because a lot of people obviously use their wonderful Exchange server for, coordinating meetings and so on. And they have concluded that since 2020, the amount of time people spend in meetings has tripled. X3. It's not X10, but it's still like shocking. Absolutely shocking. And I have to say, that's something that I have definitely seen, right? And if you're a leader, someone in the people team designing the organization, you probably see it too. You have a lot of these sessions, and it's just very unfortunate. I think this. I can understand, right? There's more remote and hybrid work, so people are not always co-located. So the incidental communication via osmosis isn't as natural or as obvious as it was when everyone was co-located around. Although, when was it actually? We've been working in global companies for quite a while now. Now, the thing is, I've talked about it before, about the distractive character of having your diary RAM full of meetings, not being able to squeeze anything, and all this coordination to even talk about something when it's important, when you need to meet someone. It's just, oh man. But there's a few tips I'd like to share because us humble associates, we're a remote first organization. And, we're growing. We have quite a few people on board, and we never really had this problem that profound, right? Okay, yeah, we've started in 2020, so there's no prior data. But when we've started, and obviously you might remember what was happening in 2020, we made the conscious effort to design communication and organization in such a way that it's, not overloading you with meetings. Well, first of all, what we have found is to reduce the number of meetings is maybe it's a bit easier for us, but this definitely helps us. So we are using a very elaborate communication pattern when it comes to our morning meetings, which we call the stand-ups. It's from the agile days. You can call it huddles, operation meetings. Doesn't really matter. What matters is we use a ticketing system called Trello. It's free. You can easily use it. You can use any other system. Doesn't really matter even if you use Microsoft Excel, Word, Google Docs, whatever. The system doesn't really matter. What matters is it's a bit easier to structure your conversation when you're talking operations about particular topics, right? So we talk about tickets that we've done before, just a quick validation. What is it that we are focusing on? We don't go person by person. We go activity by activity and talk about important stuff. We then ask ourselves, okay, so from the weekly backlog, the stuff that we want to do this week, what are we pulling in today? What is it that we'll be working on today? And then we have something called a funnel. Now, the funnel is extremely effective. It's every time something needs to be discussed that, most of the team needs to talk about, you put a ticket in the funnel. And we then go through all the tickets one by one to make sure everything gets quickly discussed. And yes, after the stand-up, after this conversation, which, isn't 15 minutes, it can take half hour, usually does, with, varied from sometimes just 2, sometimes 10, sometimes more people, depending on who is active at the time, working on the core Humble Associate stuff, not necessarily like fully with the client. Then you probably have some subsequent meetings, but they're quite well scheduled. But the important thing is that this really helps. You can do a lot in one huddle if you really know how to moderate it. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is focus on asynchronous conversation and communication. We actually use Discord, a wonderful free piece of software that I would gladly pay for, but there's no easy way for me to do so, to get some additional features, which we don't really need, but it's been so helpful that I actually wouldn't mind contributing to it commercially. And, when it's off hours, we use WhatsApp. It's an interesting dance between the two, but we actually try not to meet if we don't need to and focus on text conversations. Now, when we actually need to meet, we do. When we need to speak on audio, we do. And throughout the day, if someone is available for core Humble Associates activities, they are actually on Discord, on audio, in their own room, or maybe, in a room meeting with someone. And if, there's something that you can't necessarily discuss asynchronously on text because it's complex, right? You talking, sometimes even a screen share or a collaboration on a Google Doc will help. You come in and have this impromptu thing. This actually keeps us really fresh, and it's been nearly 4 years, and it hasn't caused us any trouble since. Now, is any of it something you can do? Possibly you might struggle with tools in your company. Not all of that is permitted. You might struggle with having a large amount of people that you're collaborating with, which you can't necessarily handle with all of them. I get all that. But there are still things you can do. And I don't think it's fair to accept your diary being totally hijacked by meetings that might not always be useful. Even in the olden days, we tended to say that, this meeting could have been an email. And sometimes we just went there to show our face. Maybe it's time to stop that habit and replace it with something more effective. God knows we don't have the time anymore. With that, I wish you all the best for Thursday, and I will see you again for the next episode of Coach on the Rocks, as usual, on Friday. See you. Bye-bye. Does it? This is what happens when sometimes technology fails you, right? You've got something complex and you click the wrong button and then it doesn't work. Well, now I've got it set and I've got this wonderful thing that helps me end the stream. And it's just important to talk when you fiddle with technology if something doesn't go your way. It should work now. See you tomorrow.